Anyway, I can never sit and speak. It's the first time actually that I'm going to speak the life before the war when I was born. I never speak about it because I usually go to schools. There's no Jewish people there, so they wouldn't be interested in what type of life I had. They're only interested that I tell them I just start off from the ghettos and I go into Auschwitz, and then I, in the schools, and I just speak about love instead of hating each other, and tell them what hating does, and that's what I speak about. So here I've got the opportunity, and I've really used people to speak about home life. You see, I was born in a small village, not far away from Satmar, which was about 4 kilometers, if not more, 4 or 5 kilometers. Because we used to walk it on Shabbos to Satmar sometimes. My father was a Rebbe, he was a shoichet, he was a moil, because they couldn't afford anybody else. So he did all these little things, and he never got paid from the people. They were farmers, so he used to get 1,000 eggs, a chicken, and the butcher gave him a piece of meat. Money was not for him much, so it wasn't like that. But he was exactly a very talented, a very chused, my father was. He was the oldest brother from 3 brothers, and he went to yeshiva actually in Siget. And the rabbi, in Siget, it's called the Siget Roof. His name was Eitz Chaim on the books, but his real name was Chaim Tzvi. And when he passed away, he learned that I think it was 7 terms, his man was a term. He learned 7 man in the yeshiva there. And when he passed away, after I was born, my brother was born, and he called him after this rabbi, Chaim Tzvi. And that's why Tzvi, to me, is like my brother. It reminds me so much of my brother. You see? So he's actually like a brother to me. It's that name. Anyway, because I was brought up so religious from home, I was not allowed to wear short sleeves. I had to wear a long jacket up to my knee. I had to wear, always a hit, And there's nobody else in the village. Warners, didn't have any pious, they didn't have nothing, except me. So of course I was always the odd person out. And but my father was being so religious, he was actually, I understand that he was also a healer, which I didn't know. Only found out after the war, because this person was telling me that how my father was, she went to the doctor and told her there was no chance to live. And so she had no choice, she went to my father, and she telling me this, I don't know. And she said, shame he didn't know you dad very well, because this arm, he gave me a blessing, and he says, I'm still alive, not that I'm alive, I even lived through the camps. She's 90-odd years today, and she still lives in Tel Aviv, in Bnei Brak. But she's not religious at all. Now whatsoever, because... Oh, thank you. I know. My voice has gone very, very, very low, so I always have to ask for a mic. So you can hear me better now. So now I'm going to try to tell it what my father, he'd have weddings, of course. He was a boy. He was everything, except he didn't have money. I took after him, I think, that way. So, the life in Ombud was the people, most of the people there were farmers, and there was actually a butcher, in the village. Obviously, you had to have a butcher for kosher meat. And there was, that's better. and there was also a tailor, which I remember, and there was also a shoester, they repaired the shoes, because I only had 1 pair of shoes, And I remember it was holes in them, so I used to go across the road, you put one pair shut, another pair of my shoes. Summertime, we can't afford the shoes, so I was very barefooted most of the times, until the winter came. Then we wear little boots, as you see in this picture here. We had boots up here in the winter. Anyway, so life was very, very hard, especially I was born in 29. The 30s, when I was born, Wall Street crashed. So it was very hard times, in those days. And my father was just a young man, came into the village, he just came out from the yeshiva. So he wanted to bring us up very orthodox way. And we started off, then you got to know the Satmar Rebbe, which is from the big town. He used to go wherever he could, had a chance. We used to go to the Satmar Rebbe. His name was Teitelbaum, Yoel Teitelbaum, and used to go see him. And I understand now, which I didn't know, I found out only recently, that my father was also a Dayan. Sometimes, it's a great honor to be a Dayan. So obviously he was always learning. I remember that he used to dream about the Talmud, and he used to write, and woke up as soon as the dream was there, not to forget, and used to write it down. And every night he was up half the night writing down the dreams, what he had. I remember then, when I became 13 actually, Bar Mitzvah, he took me to there was no Chedra Kedisha either. My father done all that. So I had to help, by that time I had to help my father, to wash the body and cut the nails and stand up there, the usual thing. What was very odd to me was that most Hungarian Jews, didn't speak Yiddish, they only spoke Hungarian. And the names, the names were János, for instance, right? And I remember my father, before he put the soil back again, he put 2 clay pots on the eyes and a little bag over the head. And then before he put the soil and finished, he used to say to him, don't forget, when you go to the other world, your name is not János. Your name is Moshe ben Pinchas. He says, that's why you're going to get to the right place. And I remember I was standing there with him, and oh, thank you. My brother, for instance, he was a year younger than me. My father named him after the Siget roof. And he was completely different to me. I was always the Lobos. A Lobos means... That's all right? Yeah. I was always the Lobos, I didn't want to learn nothing, I didn't want to think nothing, and my father was very annoyed about this because he says, I've got 2 sons here, there was only about a year difference, and he was a tzaddik, my brother, even though he didn't know half the things that I knew. He just didn't have the memories, the things, but he should have for the Igor. But he was very willing. He was proud of his big bias. I would like to cut him off anytime, any opportunity. I hated him, and he loved him, as a matter of fact, he was completely different to me, completely different. He had lovely black bias, very long ones, and he was walking about with his tzitzis always, I hid mine there all the time. And that was the difference. And I remember I never learned anything much, because I wanted to learn. I didn't like getting up early in the morning. I remember he used to wake me up at 4 o'clock in the morning for slichas, he said. Slichas, 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock in the morning. And I was so tired, wanted to sleep, no, I'm going to come. So he knew he couldn't handle me very well, so he ended up telling me stories. Like, for instance, he was saying that, this is from Baal Shem Tov, he had a lot of stories from Baal Shem Tov.
The founder of Hasidut.
Pardon?
Founder of Hasidus.
Yeah, founder of Hasidus, yeah. There are a lot of stories about Shem Tov. And one of the stories I still remember was telling me that there's a guy came in to the village, this horse went lame. So he said, he's looking, can he buy a horse? So someone told him, there's a Jewish man, he has got horses, you can go there, and buy a horse. So where is he? He's in the synagogue, he's davening. No. But he wasn't through, we didn't know what all this is about. And as he gets in there, he's having to start the Shemoneh Esrei. So when he says the Shemoneh Esrei, you're not allowed to speak. Speak right. So he says to him, I need a horse very badly. I give you 300 pounds, for instance, I buy this horse. But he couldn't speak. So he went, okay, he says, then, okay, 400 pounds. And then he goes, okay, 500 pounds. So, and then, you know what? 600 pounds. I need this badly because I got business to meet. I need it very badly. I'm going to get there to this place. I'll give you 600. And so he says, okay, 700. No. So 700, he says, I should show them a bribe up here. Never mind. He says, 700, that's fine. So when he goes out, when he leaves, he tells the people, you know what? I was quite happy to get 300. But if anybody tells me that davening doesn't pay, he's wrong. Yeah. Those are the things my father told me because he knew by stories. I love stories. Moshe Shabbos, every Moshe Shabbos, he told us stories, all different, very interesting stories. I was not sleepy then. I was very interesting. And by these stories, he knew I love stories. I thought he was going to get me to come back to Yiddishkeit and learn more. So that's one of the things that I know from home, that he also took me now and again to Satmar. Now, we didn't have a bath in the village. Our village was very similar, actually, to Field on the Roof. It's exactly the same, the people are the same. There's no difference. It was once in a week, a guy came with the drums, told us the news, and nobody had a paper, it was a small village. So, excuse me. And in the village, he called out, the letters came, he called out letters for people they couldn't read, some of them were from America. And exactly the same as I saw in Field on the Roof reminded me. The streets were muddy, especially in the spring, because we had a beautiful river, it's called the Shomosh. They went right through Satmar as well. It was very wide, and it came down from the mountains. It was very clear. So every Friday, my father in the morning took a basket. There was hundreds, thousands of fish in their cups, and trout, because they go in the clear water, the fast water. Just stood in there with his feet, put the basket in, and they took his fish out. But now it's all polluted, of course. So we had always carved for Shabbos, Well, I remember also that now the war started, Polish Jews managed to come to Hungary. The false papers. Hungary was not at the time very bad. There was anti-Semitism. You had to wear a yellow star. You had to walk about on the street. There was a lot of beating ups and things, but very small things, not really the deportation. So the Polish even come up, and I remember my father on Friday, he saw two Polish Eden in the shul. He asked them to come over for Shabbos, of course. And I didn't like that, because we only had one chicken. And there was 10 of us, besides these two. And there was this chicken had to last for next day as well, for Shabbos lunchtime. So I ended up getting a foot. That's all the foot, a little bone. And I sort of said, I wish you wouldn't ask these people, we haven't got any ourselves, but he did. Now I appreciate it that he did, believe me. But at that time I didn't understand it, and he brought him home, and they were talking about in Poland, what's happening. I said, but we never listened to these things, so I've never heard anything. They always private, the talk. They didn't want us to know what's going on. So I didn't really know much about ghettos or anything like that. And so I remember them distinctly about this. But you know what? When I first came back to England from Canada, I didn't know anybody either, and there was a rabbi bar in the shul. I went to the shul, see Rabbi bar, and the first thing he asked me to come for Shabbos. I was near in tears, because I thought to myself, my father is paying me back now, but he asked the Polish Eden. Now he's asking me, who am I? I'm not even from, am I to go for a Rebbe for Shabbos? But he asked me, and I came in there. I was so grateful that he did ask me, and I was he brought me back to Yiddishkeit, this rabbi. It was fantastic, it still is. And so it's all from these things. I remember also that the one Shabbos, now and again, we used to go actually Friday. We didn't have a mikveh, and we had a mikveh, but we couldn't afford to heat it, the water. It was a samovar, and we used to put that into the water, and that used to heat it up. But the only time it was for the women, with a wedding or something like that, we used it. So me and my father used to go to Satna. There was a beautiful mikveh there. There was also manicuring, we done the nails, we done massages. It was really, and there was also Turkish bath, something like that. And so that's where we used to go and again on Shabbos. But also, my father took me also Shabbos to the Rabbi Garson, the Kleinman. And I remember him sitting on the top of the table. There was about, to me, they looked like about 300 Bucharim, students, And everything was pushing, and so I managed to get a little seat to sit by the table next to my father, and all of a sudden this big plate comes up, these bits of herrings, and I'm looking, and everybody's fighting. When he's there, he had the bruch, and everybody was fighting to get a piece of this herring, because it's just called a shrine in Yiddish. And because if you eat some of his food, you're going to be holy as well. That's what they believed in, so I couldn't believe in these things. But what it was, he's sitting there, and I tell you, I learned, that there was Lamed Wolf Sadiqim, that means there was 36 holy, righteous people got to be on this world, to the world to exist. If there's no 36 people, the world wouldn't even exist. That's why. And I'm sitting there in the dark. Shabbos was really finished, but the Rabbi Garson lasts an hour longer, because Shabbos, the Gehenna doesn't work. So he wanted to give these people who were no good an extra hour. So it was always finished an hour later when it should finish. But sitting there, and I tell you, the spiritual for me, even though I wasn't a tzaddik, I tell you, it was unbelievable. I thought I was already myself in Gedaiden. I tell you, it was unbelievable, And even today, I never miss the Shirashitas. It's just stuck in me all these days about this holiness when you have for the third meal on the Shabbos. It's so important to me, It's something that's stuck. It's nothing much. You get also a piece of herring, You get but we say a drosha, my father said a drosha, things like that. Talking about drosha, I remember what my father said, the drosha, the Shirashitas, and when he finished, I said, Shkoyach Rab Noach, but it was rhymed. When he came came out, I did get a hiding luggage. He said he got no derech. And he was trying to tell me that derech means menace, whatever it is. He was trying to tell me that the cheres comes in the Torah, comes even before the Torah, and you have to be, And so I learned my lesson. I never called him that again. I didn't mean nothing. I just meant he rhymed. But for him, it was a big deal. There's a lot of other things, which from home, they stuck. But inside me, although I was not from the kind, the thought that from my father was always there. That's one thing that it was always there. And for instance, it was Kolmitra night. I never forget that either. We had a shul, but we didn't have any electricity. So we had chandeliers, but in the chandeliers were candles. And I remember in Kippur Eve, I was getting wax on my shoulder with the candles. So I said to my father, look, I've only got one jacket. That's all I own. Why is it so hot today? He said, first of all, there's more people come than usual. Yom Kippur, on top of it, is telling me that maybe all the Neshuvas are here to come to see you as well. All the Neshuvas who passed away, they're here. And that's why it's so warm in here, and that's why the candles melt. I thought, I'm not a scholar, I don't know, maybe it's right, maybe not, but I believed it anyway. There's no reason for me not to believe it. Like little things like that, it made my life completely different. Even though, as I said, I didn't like, because I'll tell you why, when I was 7 years old, in fact, I had to go to school, in Romanian school then, still Romania. I was beaten up with the kids, because I'm the only one who had pious. That's why, and they pulled my pious, beat me up, so, and the Goyim said, go back to Palestine, now we are in Palestine, they don't want us there. So, they wanted to send us there. That's where you belong. Now we don't belong to Palestine anymore, you see. So, but this is why I talk in school about bullying, because I tell them that bullying, I know it starts with kids and stuff like that, but it eventually ends up with anti-Semitism, and it ends up eventually with Nazism. And from Nazism, I said, comes genocide. And all these bullies, I happened to see them growing up. They were getting worse and worse as the police never took any notice of them from the village. The other thing I saw, in 1943, for instance, in the village, when they took a neighbor of mine, and they told him to climb up, there's about half a dozen bully boys. And as he climbed up, and there was friends of those neighbors, they shot him down. And that was already before, we went in deported. So anti-Semitism in Hungary was very bad, but there was no deportation until the spring. But I shall talk about it later, about the spring. And the things I know more from home, it was a life which I didn't enjoy myself, because my kids never learned to sport, because I've never had sport. I was not allowed to do it. We didn't have a radio. We didn't have anything, like that. So I never learned anything about sport. So I never taught my kids about sport. Never watched sport. So they want to know why. How comes I don't understand nothing about sport? Well, it's the way you've been brought up. It's Hasidish. I was summertime, for instance. I had to wear a long jacket. And so I used to lay on the grass with my long jacket, my kappa, and read. I used to read very well, actually, Hebrew. I read Italian. I could read the whole book. Now I couldn't read anything. It's completely. It's been over, and it was 70 years nearly now. So, but that how you forget. But the certain thing sticks in you. For instance, we were told Mashana Baba Yisrael next year in Jerusalem, and Mashiach, we're waiting for Mashiach, this and this. So, I remember going to Israel the first time, and I saw these Hebrew words. the streets and everything else. I was also in tears because I didn't think I'm going to live that long to be able to see that actually exists. And yet we have some Satmar Hasidim, they come to the shul sometimes, and you know what? They walk out when the rabbi says a blessing for Israel, they walk out. And it's not for me to judge them, because I was the same. And you should see the smart shtamos they got. Unbelievable, the shtamos they got. My father only had one little corner, the shtamo. But their shtamos is about 4 or 5 inches wide now. It's very pretty, Banjum, and they come from Stanford to our shul sometimes. And they always come to me. You know why? I learned the Satmar Roof, and they're followers of the Satmar Roof, Satmar Rabbi. And one of them kisses my hand. They remember. But who am I? So I asked him, excuse me, I'm really not even from a mensch, because I speak Yiddish with him. They all speak good Yiddish, actually. And he said, I'll tell you what happened is, he said, when the Satmar Roof came to Palestine, he managed to escape from Romania. My father didn't have opportunity to do it, but he managed. And with all his Hasidim, and they came to Palestine, and as soon as it became a country in 1948, they wanted to leave, because they didn't want to be in a country only when Mashiach comes. So, the reason they come to me is because they asked the Rabbi Yonish, who are we going to give the quittel to? Quittel is a piece of paper you write on to the rabbi who is sick, or someone passed away, or whatever you say, that's called a quittel. And they do a quittel also when you go to the wailing wall, you push it into the wall. It's a quittel. So the rabbi said, don't worry about me. I'm going. But if you see a guy who lays twiddle, he's got a number on his arm. That's why you give your quittel to. They're more things than. So that's why they come to me. I was wondering what they're coming to me for. Because I actually learned by that the last in 1943. And there, it was the last, we danced in one of the rooms. I remember we danced in there. And I remembered how we danced actually on Simchat Torah. And in Satmar, it was my last one. And when they so down the same song, the same song over and over again. Some of them sing it to 4 in the morning, and some of them in their trances completely, from all this twisting and turning. And that's how life was. And if Shabbos in Satmar, you saw nothing but Shabbos. You didn't see. If anybody wore a hat, he was already a goy. He was on the same. So somebody complained to the Satmar Roof. He said, when you can't say the Jewish, would you please mention that you shouldn't bear the head downwards, you should bear it upwards. So the rabbi, when he mentioned it, he forgot, he mentioned the other way around. He said, shouldn't have it downwards, it's going to be upwards. It's done it the wrong way around. I learned by him, in 1943, as I was reading actually the Bumetzia, the Babylonian Talmud. And I remember I used to go Thursday in Satmar, and then he called me up, he asked me a few questions about what I've learned, and then all of a sudden he stopped, they fell asleep always, so asleep. And he slept for about 20 minutes, went to wait, I had to stand up and still wait. And afterwards he said, do you know what, he remembered exactly the spot where he stopped. This was fascinating to me, to remember, he had a good sleep, to remember exactly where he stopped. Must be a Pakish Tzadik, right. There's only these little things which made my life in that home different. And I always wanted, to be like same as everybody else. I wanted to go, playing with the kids on the street. My father's Rebbe Zazin doesn't do that. So I remember once, I loved horses, I loved animals. And I remember once, I went to the next door neighbor, my father didn't see me. I took this horse without a saddle, sat on top of it, and went down, driving down, I sat on it until the river, come down to the river. It was such a nice thing, for me. And all of a sudden, when I get back, my father, he's going, what's the matter? He's sitting on a sick horse. He was sick. He said, well, your rabbi is a son, you don't do things like that, But I loved always animals, you see. And I don't know, it was in the Gemara or wherever I learned, when this rabbi was taking the baby cow, to the shrita, to the slaughtered. And actually he said in his Gemara, he said that he saw actually the baby cow in tears, and this is one of the things, talking about baby cow, I was not allowed to have a dog. The dog is not kosher, So we had a goat and I had a baby goat. And this baby goat followed me everywhere, and it's like a dog, I was bending over, he jumped over me, this baby dog, and the baby goat, it was a really cute little goat. And one day I come home, the little baby goat is gone. Because my father didn't have anything to eat at the time. He cut it down for Essen, to eat. I cried my eyes for a week about this goat. So I've always been, I could never be a shaykhid, like my whole family was shaykhid, my whole family. My father's father was a shaykhid, his father was a shaykhid, his two brothers were shaykhid, one was in Bucharest, one was in Budapest, shaykhid, they were shaykhid. And now as well, some of them are still shaykhid. But I never wanted that profession. It wasn't, if I had to kill him anything, I couldn't be like that. But that's how life was for eating and for hungry. I didn't realize I was hungry because my mother baked every Friday. We didn't have a baker shop in the village. And I tell you what, she baked the best challah and the best bread. Never had something like that. And it was always 7 big loaves of bread, big round ones. There was brown bread, because brown bread was cheaper.
And finish the story. Finish the story, and then there'll be a couple of moments for questions.
Okay, but
brown bread. Look, I'm not a soccer off. I remember.
Brown bread and lovely cakes for Shabbos. It was lovely anyway. I tell you, the derkelach, which is called, little cheese ones, and also the cocoa ones she made. I tell you what, it was a lovely Shabbos morning. We always had we didn't have any cakes and other cakes like ghettos and nothing like that. Always plain cakes, strudels, things like that. Anyway, if I remember more the next speech, I'll try and say I'll speak. So anybody questions? And the other thing I want to show you. This is my father here, right? This is my mother. Her name is Chaya Sura, my little girl. This is Shaindl, my little sister. This is Gidl, my sister older than me. This is the Chaim Tzvi, my brother with the bias. And this is Kleinman. And this one, of course, is me. I don't need a bigger one here.
We'll pass it around.
That was you?
That was me, yeah.
Fantastic.
So one of the kids in school said, who is the girl?
Explain how you got the photos. Explain how you managed to find the photos.
Well, I'll tell you, how we managed to find these photos, because that's the only photos I've had, so that's how I managed to get them. I was lucky to get the photos. And some of them also got from America, some photos. But also didn't have much of my father. Just one more thing, can I just say one more thing? Just remember, sorry. I couldn't say it actually afterwards. But my father wrote these things during the night, and he got up in the night and they put a lamp on, to see what he's writing. And the Nazis came, the Hungarian Nazis came, and took him away, and never seen him again. And I remember me and my mother were standing in front of him. They cut his beard off. It was on the Shabbos, and they said he was telling the Allies where we are, my life. You know, it's just an excuse. He never told any lies. He was not a politician. He was a rebbe, not a politician. But they took him away, and it's the last time I've seen my father. I remember me and my mom standing there crying her eyes out, and my mom was saying, "You know what? I don't think I'm going to see you again." You know, and his father said, he was a very believer. God will help you, you know, and you'll be okay. So that's the last time I saw my father.
Did he say anything to you?
No. He just talked to my mom. And, I was standing with him. Me and my mom, we both cried. Still got tears from them. Yet I didn't get on with my father yet. You know, he was still my father. Still.
Can I ask a question, Leslie? What was your relationship like with your mother?
Pardon?
Talk about your father. What was your relationship like with your mother?
My mother was wrong.
What was your relationship with your mum?
My relationship with my mom was very good, actually. You know, I never heard my father saying, you know, he loves me or anything like that. But I thought he never did. But obviously, it was just his way, you know. And he was always very strict. He reminded me very strict in every way. He wanted to bring us up the Yiddish awake. I can see it now, but I couldn't see it as a child. You know, I wanted to be the same as the other boys. You know, in fact, I got a picture of the cheder of my father, and you see I'm the only one who's got the pious there, from the whole cheder. So, you know, I was different always. And I didn't want to be different. I wanted to be what I am, you know. My father wanted me different. He said, you can't choose children, you know. You have to go there. I never chose my children. I told them, you go the way you think is right, you know. That way, I learned from my own ways.
Okay, we can take maybe two questions and then we'll move on.
So how big was the Jewish community?
Just speak up so everyone can hear.
So
Yeah, I can hear you, yeah.
How big was the Jewish community where you?
It wasn't very big actually. It was about 5 villages he had, different villages, and he used to have a bike. And he used to go schieten, you know, with his bike. He used to drive down to the houses and go to the chicken cut. They didn't come to our house. They went there, you know, to the farm and cut the chicken or whatever.
But you had a minion. You had a minion.
We had a minion, or just about a minion. Yes, we did have a minion from the elderly people, but that's about it.
Do you ever think that because of the way you were brought up by your father, that he gave you, in a way, the strength to survive the war? He gave you the mental strength to actually get through what you did?
I did in some ways. I can tell you why. I was a smoker, for instance, right? And my son phones me up his medication, and he said to me, Dad, you're nearly 60 and you should stop smoking, because if you stop now, I can assure you, your lungs will be perfect in 5 years. So I took advice. It was very hard because you're addicted. But I remember when my father told me, he said to me, nowadays, because I couldn't get up in the mornings, and he used to tell me, you know what, you've got inside you 2 different things. The Yisrael is the bad one and the good one. And the bad one tells you, stay another 5 minutes. What do you want to get up for? You've got another 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, it tells me stay another 5 minutes, and another 5 minutes, and before you know, you missed So he said, no, you should be the man. You tell the Yisrael that you're going to get up, and I'm doing this still today. I don't feel like going to shul. I'm going to be at 7 o'clock there, and I can't always get up. But I said, I'm the man now. I'm getting up, and that's it. You're not going to tell me nothing. So it did help me a lot. Helped me with the smoking. Because he said, anything you want to do in life, try it for 3 weeks, and then there's no problem, which I did. You know, so it does help, I tell you.
Okay.
He was the eldest, right?
No, the second.
Who was the first?
His,
Hold on, just get a picture of it.
it's his sister here.
His sister was the eldest, then him, then the brother.
She didn't exactly go to the gas chamber straight away.
Where did she go?
They took her for slave labour as well.